Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So this is the last class of the Master Gardener. That's the last video of the Master Gardener series. There's 12. So if you're just now joining me or finding me, thank you. And I think I have a lot to provide, a lot of useful information. So finish this video and then go back to the beginning and work your way up. We talk about soil, bugs, anything you need to know for you to become a successful gardener or farmer or anything like that. But let's get right into it. So we're going to be doing plant diseases for master gardeners, and we're going to learn about the significance, reduce supply of food, fiber, and timber, detract from plant beauty and property value, cost of control, cost of replanting, price increase for consumer. Goals for this session: basics of plant pathology, examples of diseases from each of the major pathogen types, examples of disorders, and the art of plant diagnostics. An introduction: what is a plant disease? Many plant pathologists consider any abnormal condition to be a disease. However, it is difficult for most people to picture abnormalities such as frost damage or insect damage as diseases. Where diseases fit in. Diseases are only one of many types of plant problems. Abiotic problems, or disorders, caused by non-living agents. Damage from chemicals, weather, mechanical, nutritional problems. And then you have biotic problems, caused by living agents like diseases, damage caused by organisms, often microscopic and sustained relationship. Pests, insects, or other animals that feed on or otherwise damage plants. Passing the test to be called a plant disease. There's 3 requirements: plant damage caused by an organism to eliminate disorders, and sustained relationship to eliminate insect and mammal injury. There's definitions. Parasite is an organism that contains its nutrients from another organism. Pathogen, a parasite that causes plant disease by disturbing the normal metabolic processes of the plant. Saprophyte, an organism that lives off dead organic matter. Some plant pathogens can live as saprocytes for part of their life cycle. Diseases versus disorders. Disorders: damage caused by non-living agents. Any kind of injury not caused by an organism. Example: pH too alkaline or too acidic. Water too much or too little. Temperature too low or too high. Nutritional deficiencies, fertilizer burn, pesticide burn, air pollution, and mechanical injury. This is this is a lot of information to kind of throw at you, but this is one of the things that I would kind of suggest to remember. The plant disease triangle. A biotic plant disease requires interaction of susceptible host, virulent pathogen, and an environment favorable for disease development. All 3 have to be present and favorable for a disease to occur. A virulent pathogen, a susceptible host, and favorable environment. That's plant disease is a dynamic process. Major types of plant pathogens: fungi, bacteria, viruses, and nematodes. Types of diseases and their symptoms. Infamous plant diseases: potato late blight. You can see there how it would affect. It led to the Irish potato famine, which we've all probably heard about. Here in America, we have the American chestnuts, once the pride of eastern forest. There's the big old chestnut blight. Fungal canker disease destroyed American chestnuts early 1900s. So now most of the chestnuts you see are Asian chestnuts. And then we have Dutch elm disease. It's an Asian fungus identified in Ohio in 1930, spread by elm bark beetle. Over 40 million trees killed worldwide. And then major types of plant pathogens. We have the fungi. Fungi is thread-like organisms that require an external food source and usually reproduce by spores, commonly called molds, rust, or rots. Mycelium, thread-like body of a fungus. Mycelium of Rhizoctonia Cotonia, one of the world's most common soil-borne pathogens. Fungal reproductive structures called fruiting bodies because they produce spores. Fruiting bodies can have diagnostic value. Some fungi are more apt to produce them. Spores of some fungi are not produced in fruiting bodies. And then we've probably all seen this, powdery mildew. No fruiting bodies, the downy mildews, produce tufts of spores on underside of leaf. Downy mildew on butternut squash leaf. The downy mildews visible to the naked eye and require magnification. And then some fungi are easy to see. This is a fairy ring of turfgrass. See, there's a ring of the fungi. And then easy to see fungi, head smut on ear of corn, and there's conchs on a honey locust. And then we have rust diseases. They're bronze-colored spores that rub off onto your hands. You can see there. And this looks like cedar apple rust. And then we have slime molds. Some look bad but don't really harm the plant. And then there's dog vomit, slime mold on mulch. And then there's lichens. Sooty blotch and fly speck of apple, a cosmetic disease. Not toxic but hard to market to consumer. And then types of symptoms, fungal diseases. You've heard me talk about chlorosis before. Causes of general chlorosis, often nutritional, cultural, or environmental, but can be diseases such as root rots. Poorly drained sites could be causing the yellowing via root rot, drowning, and nitrogen deficiency. And you treat that with chelated iron. Leaf spots, chlorosis, or necrosis. Leaf spots are localized areas of necrotic tissue, means they're dying or dead, often accompanied by chlorosis. Leaf spot shape. Lesions can be basically round. Leaf spot of red tip Photinia. Leaf spot to shape to angular. Downy mildew on cucumber. Downy mildew on a pumpkin. Leaf spot shape to irregular in shape. Dogwood, Anthracosia something. Late blight on tomato. Concentric rings early on tomato. Types of symptoms, fungal diseases. Chlorosis is yellowing. Necrosis is dead tissue. Leaf spots, small lesions on leaves. Blights, rapid death, and foliage. Blights can begin as simple leaf spots. Dieback. Blights can also begin with shoot, dieback, fire blight on crabapple. It's bacterial. Turfgrass can get blights too. There's brown patch of fescue, favored by seeding too thickly, long wet periods, and high fertilizer rate. Types of symptoms, fungal diseases. There's chlorosis, necrosis, leaf spots, blights, stem lesions, a localized area of a diseased tissue. Root rot, softened, discolored tissue. Black root rot on pansy. Dampening off, seedling disease caused by several soil-borne fungi, notably Rhizocotonia, Phythium, and Fusarium. Rapid death of seedlings. Stem infected at soil line. Seedling drops. Phythium causes seedling disease in cool, wet soils. Seedling diseases include stem rots and root rots, dampening off of snap beans. Remedy, pre-treat seed with fungicide. That looks like watermelon seeds. Fruit lesions and rots, lesions on a strawberry, white rot lesions on apple, and brown rot lesions on a peach. Cankers, sunken lesions, chestnut blight canker, papery bark, and then there's on the dogwood. Wilting. Southern blight is one of the more likely causes of sudden wilting and death of garden plants. Verticillium wilt. Although called wilt disease, wilting is not a major symptom. Affects many woody and herbaceous plants. Fusarium wilt, as with Verticillium wilt, is not a major symptom. Brown discoloration of vascular tissue and chlorosis and death of leaves. Types of symptoms, fungal diseases. We kind of went over that. Wilting, drooping caused by lack of water in tissues. Witch's broom, bunchy growth. Blackberry rosette disease has a witch's broom symptom. There's the rosette over on the left, and then what it's supposed to look like, the healthy over there. Stunting, shortening of plant caused by tomato spotted wilt virus, caused by root knot Fungal galls, oak leaf blister, peach leaf curl, and that's a leaf, azalea leaf. Black knot on plum, very common on plum. Knot should be pruned out. Reinfection may come from nearby infected trees. A word about anthracnose diseases. Most types of plants have that each is caused by a different fungus specific to the host plant it affects. Your oak tree won't catch that from your strawberries. Bacteria. Single-celled organisms that lack nuclei and reproduce by simple cell division. Plant pathogenic bacteria do not produce spores, can reproduce rapidly and spread with moisture. Symptoms caused by bacteria, we have leaf spots, blights, soft rots, vascular wilts, galls, and cankers. Fire blight, shoot blight phase, blossom blight phase. Crown gall. Bacteria enter through wounds. You have an apple, crown gall on the euonymus. Bacterial spot of tomato, bacterial spot of a pepper. Bacterial spot of English ivy. Bacterial shot hole disease on ship laurel. And that's a bacterial scorch of an oak. Bacterial wilt of that. Cucumbers, I guess. And then we'll get into viruses. Viruses, submicroscopic agents that multiply only in living cells, composed of nucleic acid and protein coat. Impatiens necrotic spot virus. Tomato spotted wilt virus. Mosaic virus diseases. Mosaic virus diseases. Mosaic, intermingled patches of light and dark green tissues. Tomato mosaic virus on tomato, transmitted on hands. And then we'll get into nematodes. Plant parasitic nematodes. All plant parasitic nematodes have a mouth part called a stylet. And that's what it looks like. Root knot nematode damage to tomato and cantaloupe. Impatiens root rot nema damage. Foliar nematode on Brunnera. Foliar nematode emerging from leaf tissue. Plant disease control management. So you're probably wondering, well, how do I fix all this? Well, let's see. So there's methods of control. There's cultural plant production practices that lessen disease. Chemical, the use of man-made or naturally occurring compounds to lessen disease. Biological, the use of natural or modified organisms to lessen disease. Regulatory is governmental control of the movement of plants. And then physical, the use of temperature or radiation. And then don't forget, like I said, remember the disease triangle. All control efforts are aimed at reducing one or more of these components: the susceptible host, a virulent pathogen, or favorable environment. Avoid or reduce the pathogen inoculum. Cultural practices. There's crop rotation. Rotate plant families. You got your legumes like your beans, solanums, like your tomatoes and peppers, cucumbers, and brassicas, like your cabbages. Avoid or reduce the pathogen inoculum. Cultural practices: buy seed from a reputable source, don't save seed, inspect plants before purchase. That's black rot of a cabbage. Avoid or reduce the pathogen inoculum. Cultural practices: control nearby neglected host, prune and remove diseased plant parts. Black knot on plum, and then fire blight on pear. Avoid or reduce the pathogen. Culture practices: control alternate host, certain diseases. Avoid or reduce the pathogen. Cultural practices: rogue, remove the diseased plants. Avoid or reduce the pathogen. Regulatory practices: inspections to enforce certification programs. Quarantines can be at nursery or point of entry. Then we have biological control. Products contain beneficial bacteria or fungi. Most organisms are naturally occurring and suitable for organic. Most are for soil-borne diseases, not foliar, tend not to be very effective under conditions of high disease pressure. Avoid or reduce the pathogen inoculum. Physical methods: heat or steam soil, greenhouse operation, solarization of greenhouse or of garden soil. Avoid or reduce the pathogen. Chemical control: fungicides, bactericides, nemicides. There are no viricides. Can be synthetic or natural. not adequate by itself, must combine with other control methods, primarily foliar applied and as seed treatments, works best if applied before infection occurs. Chemical control, we have fungicides and bactericides, protectant, contact, systemic, most are locally systemic, and they're absorbed but have very little movement. Insecticides for insect-transmitted diseases. Culturally, balanced nutrition and proper pH, provide adequate drainage, prevent water stress, tend to other cultural requirements to produce healthy plants. Biologically, plant-resistant varieties, a mainstay of disease control. Foliar, blight, wave, petunia is killed, marigold is resistant. Chemically resistant activators will reduce certain diseases primarily for commercial use. Then here's some soft disease control products. There's bacterial, there's bicarbonates, biofungicides, coppers, microbial inoculants, oils, plant extracts, resistant activators, materials like soaps, streptomycin, sulfur. All listed materials other than the resistant activators are acceptable for organic production. And then make environment less favorable for disease. Allow air and sunlight penetration, density and spacing of plants, pruning limbs or leaves, site selection for sun exposure, weed control. And then irrigation practices, do not apply too much, do not use sprinkler type unless necessary, do not extend natural wet period, late afternoon or early morning, provide good soil drainage, site selection, avoid low areas in soils with poor internal drainage, produce raised beds, and soil amendments. And then annual plants, emphasis on crop rotation, rotate plant families. We have perennial plants, emphasis on pruning to remove source of inoculum, to provide better air circulation, to allow better spray penetration, greenhouses, emphasis on sanitation and humidity management. Nematode control, resistant varieties, sanitation practices, crop rotation, solarization, fallow, no plants or weeds, marigolds, solid plantings, and compost or green manure. The art of plant diagnostics. Be a plant detective. Type of plant, symptoms, pattern, how distributed in planting, site, low area, soil type, history. When planted, what chemicals used to weather. And then the first part is ID the plant. You can eliminate some possibilities. If it's a cherry tree, then the problem you're looking at is not cedar apple rust. Consider the common problems for that type of plant. Many of your diagnostics will be made this way. Leaf spots of a Photinia are probably Entomycerium. Plant problem diagnosis steps. Step 3. Before going any further, check for mites and scale insects with a hand lens. And then consider all known diseases for type of plant. Consult. There's websites, books, host indexes, list plants and their pathogens. Disease compendia describe diseases for crops. Many books include common problems for each included plant. Observe symptom pattern, uniformly distributed through most or all plant of that type, probably not a soil-borne problem, scattered, localized, more likely a soil-borne problem. Consider soil drainage. Is the problem in a low area? Does the soil percolate? Well, soil type. Does the site receive runoff, downspouts, swimming pools, etc.? What irrigation practices have been used? How often is the system on a timer, sprinkler, or drip? Other cultural practices when planted. What chemicals have been used? Fertilization practices. Has a soil pH test been run? Review weather conditions. Is it rainy, dry, hot, cold? And most diagnoses are made by matching the preceding information with the symptoms, even at the lab. For further confirmation, take sample or digital images of a problem to county extension office. If the agent is unable to make a diagnosis, he/she will send the sample to the specialist at the university diagnostic lab or submit images to them via the distant diagnosis system. The specialist asks that you not send the images by email. And that brought us to the end of the class. Congratulations, we did it. I'm going to try to inspire you. So I think if you ever have thought about start, a garden, I'm going to talk a little bit from experience. I know they're easy. You probably want to try it this way. Avoid houseplants. I'm going to suggest going out and buy like a seed pack. They're cheap, $5, and then just throw them and see what they do. This was so easy in my cut wildflower garden. It was $10. It has high impact. It gave me flowers all year long because the seeds it's a mix. You have, Rudbeckia coming up and stuff in the spring, in the summer, late fall. Avoid houseplants because they are very finicky, and I feel like I have killed so many houseplants, and it's an easy discouragement. So, or what you can go to your local nursery, like a big box store, and check out whatever time of season it is. Start with an annual, put it in a container, water it, see how, fertilize it once a week, see how it will just thrive and good. I think that will put you on the path of success and stuff. But yeah, we did it. I hope we have all the knowledge, we have all the education. Now it's just important to go out and do the practical stuff. So go out and do it. Thank you for joining me. Congratulations again. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye, y'all.